Would you love to get recommended by AI so often that you never had to worry about buying leads or paying for marketing for your product or service? I know I sure would. Today, I want to talk about that because as of today in summer of 2026, that question is something that is incredibly difficult and increasingly difficult to actually answer. And I want to talk about this gentleman by the name of John Young-Fook, who I respect greatly, even though I might not have said his name correctly, but I've been following him for a long time because of Banner Bear. And he has actually gone about and built a SaaS company, a software as a service company, back way before AI was, kind of a standard thing. And he built it up to $81,000 of MRR. You could see here he talks about this, in a tweet from 2025, which you can go ahead and read if you want. But he made a post recently that I think is very interesting for us. And he talks about the good and the bad in terms of sign up and strategy. And as somebody who is building proveworth.com and wants to help get people to sign up so that they can buy and pay for their product, I found this to be incredibly interesting. He talked about everything downstream of us is getting less traffic to the site. And why is this the case? Well, we'll talk about that in just a second with AI mode for Google, which has you can have a lot of different thoughts about that. But what John talks about here is that people are using Google less and less. I find this to be the case too. We're going to talk about this in a second as well, where I actually had an issue that I wanted to talk about with ChatGPT, where I had some pain in my finger, and I'm just not using Google the way that I used to anymore. And Google is probably seeing this also. What do we do in terms of marketing our businesses, and how do we kind of leverage in the future of AI if Google and Bing aren't going to be recommending us like they used to recommend us? Just write more content is definitely out when it comes to the strategy. So this sparked some really interesting conversation. And try being a programmatic framework. Well, if you're wondering who is this reply here, Adam founded Tailwind CSS, which is something that if you were vibe coding or you've been in the coding space for a while, you try to build any products or websites online, you've probably used Tailwind even if you aren't familiar with it. So it is incredible, and as you can see, they're getting millions and millions of searches. So everything is kind of trending down right now. And what do we do about it? Jerry here actually gives a personal anecdote, which I thought was pretty relevant to the conversation. He talks about just the general decline of people who are building kind of micro SaaS or micro products, or maybe very small, specific user intent things, right? You have one problem, you have one solution, boom, there you go, that's it. He says he doesn't even bother Googling solutions to problems anymore because he can just ask Claude or Codex. So then I don't think that, as he says, I don't think SEO or Google is dead. It's just some specific problems are seeing a real drop from people searching for them. Problems where people still need to solve without agents probably still see SEO working. And there's a great, there's a bunch of different studies of this, and I'll summarize it for you. And essentially, what people have done is they've seen that there's been a lot of great decline in blog traffic over the years, especially the blogs that are just repeats of information. What's actually growing in this space is parenting. Parenting blogs are growing quite a bit, and you might think about the intention. Why is that? Why are these things growing? What's happening in that space? Well, parents are lived experiences. There are, hundreds of millions of them right now, and billions over the years. But each and every parental experience is unique to you, right? It's your own personal story. Nobody has the exact same child at the exact same time or the exact same experience, but there can be shared lived experiences in that realm too. So I thought it was really interesting that things like cooking and other things, those are just recipes. You can ask an AI for that. But stuff like parenting is growing. So what is Google doing about this? Well, they know what's happening. They've got more data than any of us because they get billions and billions of searches every single day. So they are trying to integrate this experience so that you do still come back to Google and you do still find these things. But there were some more insights from some other indie hackers that I thought was pretty keen here. This guy, Keenan, mentioned software isn't dying because AI is eating apps. It's dying because behavior is changing. And I think this is the intention where, as business owners, as people who are professionals trying to utilize AI, and you want to get discovered also by AI, I think this is a very relevant story. He says, last night before bed, my girlfriend pulled out her phone and spent 15 minutes using GPT voice to diagnose why her face was breaking out. She didn't Google it. It didn't even cross her mind. We're in this transitionary period of the internet, right? Most people are kind of used to one way, and they're going to be going and doing it that way. But things are evolving now as stuff gets simpler and more specific. I had this exact same instance where I said, hey, I've got this numbness in my finger. It said, all right, let's get a clean overview, right? It was very useful for me because it just helped me shape context, which is when we're using AI, what are we doing? We're shaping context and helping the AI understand what's going on here. So, speaking of lived experience, I just want to conclude with some insights here. So, this is my product called ProveWorth. And this is just basically my webmaster tools for the past 16 months, right? From what turned into essentially a blog talking about communities now has become a software product. You can kind of see the evolution over time. And what is really difficult for me here is that this looks great, and it looks like we're on the upper trend here. But I've dabbled in some other things and some other products as well. And so these numbers, they're a little bit frustrating to me because I actually see what's happened on a different application that I have built. And this one's called Card Value. And I haven't paid attention to, I haven't marketed, I haven't done anything to this since March. Okay. Zero touch, zero information. But what do you see here? Well, if you dive into this data and you kind of think about it, what's actually happening here is that not only is there an unmet demand, but the intention of what's happening when somebody searches about what is the most expensive Pokemon card, or they search about, they actually search for the word card value because they like cardboard. If you're like me, you like cardboard and you like Pokemon cards, Riftbound cards, all sorts of different cards. If that's all foreign language to you, that's okay. But people like collectibles. And so people are looking about what is the most expensive card, what about this specific card and what's happening here. And also, this is Bing, by the way, that we're looking at here. This has been really frustrating for me, but also incredibly insightful because I made this site. I programmatically updated it. I kind of did use my own SEO knowledge to go in and make this happen. And, this is Google Webmaster Tools, right? Over the past, 16 months, it's gotten 600 clicks, which, by the way, card value on Google gets basically no traction, but on Bing and ChatGPT, they absolutely love it. So given that, you want to be kind of ranking everywhere, well, what's going on here? Well, I've been very intentional with how I grow ProveWorth and how I work on the SEO, basically spending 10 to 12 hours a day thinking about content creation, all those other things, trying to get people onboarded, using the software, paying for the software, right? This is something that's very important to me. But people aren't natively going out and searching for communities. That's just not happening right now. I have a thesis that that will be the case in the future. I am building with that in mind, and this is going to be part of my product arsenal. But nobody goes out really and types top business communities. I'm starting to see it now a little bit in the data, but that's not something that's really happening right now. People aren't kind of making that assumption. What is happening for Pokemon? Well, they know that they want Ascended Heroes, which is the set name, and they know they want Pikachu, right? Even if you're not familiar with Pokemon, you might be familiar with that. Pokemon cards with the highest growth in 25, 26, right? I can see that I've gotten some impressions here, but not that many clicks. So given the fact that there is intention here, I want you to look at this AI performance tab really quickly and think about this. This is ChatGPT telling you to your face, right? What's happening? What is the intent? Commercial. What is the topic? Shopping, right? What is the intent? Learn and solve. What is the topic? Small business. And so it shows the citation share of what's happening inside of ChatGPT, which I find absolutely and unendingly fascinating. And so instead of choosing to be frustrated by what's happening here with ProveWorth, this is how I'm thinking about it now. And also why I'm creating content on AI and how I'm building products with AI as well as a non-technical founder. Because we need to be thinking much, much more about what they are specifically telling us here. What is the intention? What is the topic? And how can we create useful experiences that change behavior, right? If ChatGPT is shaping how we are using these things, if ChatGPT is shaping the behavior that we have inherently for what's going on here, I think that's going to be incredibly important for us as we continue to go forward, trying to build real businesses and understand this. I wish I had the answer. I wish I had the solution, right? John talks about it here. It's not just write more content, but, and it's not writing more slop and just kind of putting endless stuff out into the internet. But I do think that there are people that are winning with this strategy of writing more content, but they are thinking about what is the intention, right? What is the topic here? And how can I position this so that it is discoverable by these new tools and these new methods? And this is why I think so important now more than ever that you need to be building a brand. And don't get me wrong, I want to build a personal brand, but truly right now, you need a notable brand. For me, for example, my call to action for you here is going to be go to beingainative.com. Use beingainative.com and sign up and submit your email. We'll give you some great goodies as a part of that. But you need to be thinking about what is something that sticks in your head, a word or phrase that you can own, something that will actually trigger for people so that when they think of X problem, they think of Y solution for you. For ProveWorth, this is really the case. If you want social proof for your community, you want to get more paying members, you search ProveWorth. ProveWorth is the #1 search term for ProveWorth. Fun fact, right? And what's interesting here is when you look at card value and you look at search performance on Bing and you look at ChatGPT, card value isn't even the most kind of like impressioned and searched thing. Although you see the click-through rate for it is significantly better, all right? Because of the intention. If somebody's looking for cards and their value, and they see a website called Card Value, guess what? They're going to probably click on that and utilize it. So join me now, and feel free to go and click through some other videos. But this is going to be an important topic that we are going to speak about more as we continue to learn and grow, right? You and me, as we are on this journey of trying to grow and create sustainable income, right? Build through all of the different applications that we have, all the different products, websites, and services. Truly, we need to become AI native. So click on this video if you want to see more of this, and we'll see you next time.